Well, hello everyone, and welcome to this English lesson about the nighttime. The night. I thought it would be fun to do a lesson about that time of day when most of us are sleeping, and some of us who really enjoy the night are up and still doing things. But generally, I just sleep at night. But thank you for being here. Thank you for having a desire to learn some English. And I hope that as I talk about the things that we do at night, the words and phrases that we use in English to talk about nighttime, I hope you learn a few new things. I think you will. As I was making the list of words and phrases, I didn't think there would be very many, and there were actually a lot. So I think almost 40 words and phrases in this lesson about nighttime. So welcome to this English lesson about nighttime. So you've heard me use two words, nighttime and night. These words are not quite interchangeable. At nighttime, people usually sleep. At night, people usually sleep. So those are interchangeable in that sense. But when you talk about nighttime, you're referring to the entire time when the sun is down until the sun comes up again. And usually when you talk about night, you're talking about the same thing. Are these words interchangeable then? He did it at night. You can't say he did it. So let me rephrase. You can say he did it at night or they did it during the nighttime. So there is a slight difference when you start using these two words, even though they refer to the same thing. So those are your two examples. Does he work at night? Yes. Does he work during the nighttime? Yes. So a little difference. Night is probably the most common word to say of the two. You might be someone who really loves staying up late at night. You might really enjoy the evening and the early parts of the night. You might like staying up till midnight or even later. Maybe you like staying up till 1 or 2 in the morning. We would then call you a night owl. An owl is a type of bird. I should have put a picture here. An owl is a type of bird that I think is nocturnal, which means that it's awake at night and it does all of its hunting and stuff at night. If you are a night owl, you are like an owl. You enjoy being awake at night. I am not a night owl. I'm more of an early bird. I like to go to bed on time and get up early. I'm an early bird. But if you like staying up late, we would say that you are a night owl. In the night, sometimes you have dreams. And one kind of dream that we have is called a nightmare. A nightmare is a scary dream. You can see in this picture here, the person is walking and there's a large, mysterious creature up in the distance. It's a bit foggy. If I was dreaming at night and this was my dream, I would call it a nightmare. So a nightmare is a scary dream or a frightening dream. Sometimes during the night, I have dreams. Actually, for the last few days, I've been having a lot of dreams at night, but I can't remember them when I wake up. They aren't nightmares, though. They're just dreams. If you don't like the evening and you like a little bit of light, sometimes you will have what's called a nightlight, or maybe you just want to have a little bit of light in the hallway in case you need to go to the bathroom at night, or if you need to go get a drink of water. Sometimes we will install a nightlight. A nightlight is a very dim light that stays on all night. So it's not really bright. It's quite dim. It doesn't light up the whole hallway or the whole room, but it does allow you to see a little bit if you need to get up out of bed at night and do something. We have a nightlight in our bathroom. We don't have a nightlight in our hallway, but when I get up at night, if I need to go to the bathroom or get a drink of water, it's nice to have a little nightlight so I don't have to turn the big bright lights on. Very handy. Some people are afraid of the dark. Some people just do not like the dark. Usually children are afraid of the dark. When I was a kid, I was afraid of the dark. I did not like going outside at night. When I was a kid, we had cows in our barn, and it was my job when I was a certain age to go and feed them at 10 o'clock at night. I had to go from the house to the barn at 10 o'clock at night, and it's very, very dark out here. So I overcame my fear of the dark. I was no longer afraid of the dark after doing that for a few years. But It was not enjoyable. It's not fun to go outside when it's dark if you are afraid of the dark. Sometimes, most times, at least around where I live, people will have a nightstand beside their bed. A nightstand is a small piece of furniture. Sometimes it has a drawer that you can open and close, but it's usually a very small table or a very small cabinet. And usually you will have a lamp on top. This one doesn't have a lamp on top, but it's very common to have a lamp on your nightstand. I have a few books on my nightstand and not much else. Usually when I go to bed, I will read for a little bit and then I will put my book on my nightstand. But again, a nightstand is a small table or cabinet that you keep beside your bed. Jen and I have one on each side of our bed, one for each of us, a nightstand. Sometimes you need to do something in the dead of night. So we use this phrase to talk about the middle of the night or early in the morning before it gets light out. So Jen and I, a few weeks ago, we would go out in the dead of night to turn on our sprinkler system, to turn our irrigation on our flowers to prevent frost damage. One way that farmers can prevent frost damage is to put water on their plants when it gets cold out at night. So we would go out in the dead of night at 2:30 or 3:30 in the morning and turn on the sprinklers. But yes, the dead of night refers to, as you can see in this picture, it is probably 1 in the morning or 2 in the morning. It is very, very early or right in the middle of the night. You might enjoy the nightlife in your city. If you are a night owl, you probably enjoy going out to restaurants or maybe bars, if that is your thing. Nightlife refers to anything that you can do at night in a city. My local town doesn't really have any nightlife. A city is a place where people tend to stay up later and there's more night owls. And so there will be more of a nightlife. You can go and see a band play somewhere. You can go to a place where there's dancing. You can go out with friends late at night to a restaurant for a meal. There's lots of nightlife. Yeah, my local town, by 10 o'clock at night, nothing's happening. There is no nightlife in my town at all. Some people need to work at night. My sister, when she was younger, had a job where she had to work the night shift. The night shift refers to the time at night where you need to work. I believe she worked from 8 p.m. until 4 a.m. So she had to work the night shift. This is when you have a job and you have to work when most people are actually sleeping. It's not very nice to have a job where you have to work the night shift, but usually it pays more. In Canada, if you work the night shift, you usually make more money. You just have to learn to sleep during the day, which can be difficult for some people. But when you work the night shift, it means that you work at night. You work at the time when most people are having fun or sleeping. Sunset. So night begins, or nighttime begins, usually with the sun going down. In the morning, we have the sunrise. At night, we have the sunset. When the sun sets on the horizon is, where things disappear behind. I'm having trouble describing the horizon. When the sun goes down behind the horizon, this is sunset. It is a beautiful time of day. The color of the sunlight is just gorgeous at that time of day. And after the sun goes down, evening begins. So we would probably say the sun sets in the early evening. The sun sets just before what we call dusk, which I'll talk about in a second. But sunset would be the sun going down, marking the end of the day. So you can see in this picture, dusk is that time of day when the sun has disappeared, but you still see the orange and yellow colors of the sun in the clouds and around you. So the sun has gone down. It's not totally dark yet. You can still see because the sunlight is still curving through the air around the earth. This is not a science lesson. So this is a great picture. You can see the sun has gone down, but it is dusk. It still looks beautiful. And the light at dusk is gorgeous. If you ever take photos or make videos at dusk, it looks really, really nice. So evening, what would we say evening is? To me, evening starts after the sun goes down. Dusk and evening can be happening at the same time, but evening goes further into the beginning of the night. So dusk ends when it's dark. Evening ends, I think, when you go to bed, because we use evening to talk about doing things after the sun goes down, in that time from when the sun's gone down until we go to bed. So what are you doing tomorrow evening? Oh, we're going to have supper, we're going to do some shopping, and then we're going to see a movie. So all of those events are taking place between like 5 and 6 o'clock and midnight or 1 o'clock. We would refer to that whole time as the evening. So my definition of evening, the sun has gone down and you haven't gone to bed yet. Those are the 2 points. Everything between we would refer to as evening. Nightfall. So another way to talk about when it begins getting dark. So dusk is ending and it's getting dark outside. You would say that that's nightfall. Nightfall is used a lot more in stories. We don't use the word nightfall a lot in common everyday English. Like, I was outside until nightfall. It sounds very formal. In a book, you would hear nightfall. We would say, I was outside until it got dark. I stayed outside until it got dark. I talked a little bit about the beauty of the night sky. The night sky is simply the sky above us at night. The night sky is beautiful. If you ever get a chance to be somewhere where it's very dark at night, where you can't see the city lights, you will be able to see the night sky. In the night sky, you'll of course see the moon and you'll see stars. You might even get to see a planet. Recently, we were able to see Jupiter, I think, the planet Jupiter. If you're lucky, you might be able to see the Milky Way. In this photo, you can just see the Milky Way. And if you're really far north in certain countries, you might be able to see the northern lights, or what's also called aurora borealis. But the night sky is the beautiful sky above us that you see once it gets dark outside. I enjoy walking outside at night and seeing the night sky. It's just very, very beautiful. We have invented something called night vision. So I'm just going to go over some basic terms that we use to talk about things we can do or use at night. Night vision helps you see at night. We all naturally have a little bit of night vision. If you have enough vitamin A in your diet, I think, you can see a little bit at night. Your eyes adjust to the darkness. But we also have something called night vision. You can buy binoculars that have built-in night vision. And then if you go out at night, you can see things in the dark. Very, very cool to be able to do that. I do not have binoculars that do this, but it would be really fun to have a pair of binoculars that had night vision built in, so that I could see what animals are eating our flowers at night. We also have decided that it's nice to have some light at night. In our towns and cities, we will often have street lights. A street light is a light that a town or city has put along a road or in a park so that there is a little bit of light at night. It makes it nicer for people to walk at night because you can see. It also reduces crime, so there will be less possibility that someone will try to rob you at night if there's lots of street lights around. A street light provides a bit of safety. Darkness is a little bit scary because you can't see what's happening, but it's so nice to have street lights in our major cities so that when you go out at night, you can see where you're going and you can see where you are walking. Bedtime is the time of day when you go to bed. Usually we use this when talking about children. You know, what time is your bedtime? I go to bed at 8 o'clock. Adults, we use the word bedtime as well, but it's a little more flexible. Like, I don't really have a bedtime. I usually go to bed around 10. And I think if I was to ask another adult, I wouldn't use the word bedtime. I would say, what time do you usually go to bed? There's a little faster English for you. What time do you usually go to bed? Instead of saying, what's your bedtime? Bedtime is something I would definitely ask like a nephew or niece, or children talking to each other might say, what's your bedtime? My bedtime is 8 o'clock. When's your bedtime? Notice I used what and when, very informal, but very common. When is your bedtime, or what's your bedtime? What is your bedtime? So the time of day, usually when a child will go to bed. And sometimes they would like a bedtime story. Jen and I, when our kids were really young, would read them bedtime stories. So we would have a lot of books. Some of the books we owned, some of the books we got from the library. We took books out from the library, and we would read our kids' stories at night. And that is called a bedtime story. It's really nice to read to your children. It's probably one of the things I miss a little bit. We would always read a bedtime story at bedtime with our kids. They're too old now. So, oh well, that's life, right? And then, of course, we sleep. You doze off. Eventually, you fall asleep. You sleep for about 7 to 8 to 9 hours. Some people only sleep for 6 hours. I don't know how they do it. Some people sleep for 9 hours. To me, that's a little bit too much. I usually sleep for about 8 to 8.5 hours, I think. Once I fall asleep, from the time I fall asleep until the time I wake up, it's usually about 8 or 8.5 hours. But sleep is a wonderful thing, because you can't do anything at night anyways, right? It's too dark, so you might as well sleep. I really like sleep. Can you tell? It's one of the most enjoyable things I do. Some people, though, they get up in the middle of the night, and even though they're still asleep, they walk around, and this is called sleepwalking. So this man is not awake. This man is still sleeping. This man is sleepwalking. I have never experienced this in my life. I do know once or twice when our kids were younger, one of our children would sleepwalk a little bit. It wasn't very often, but I had a roommate at university who would sleepwalk sometimes. It was kind of funny, but also a little bit scary. When someone walks around in their sleep, it's a very strange thing to experience if you're the one seeing it happen. I'm sure it's very strange for the person who is sleepwalking as well. Hey, sometimes you talk about doing something and you're going to do it overnight. Sometimes my kids will visit a friend and they'll stay overnight. Sometimes people will go on a camping trip and you'll say, are you just going for the day or are you staying overnight? So we use the word overnight to mean going somewhere and not coming home to sleep in your own bed. So for instance, one of the classes at our school went on a camping trip, and I thought it was just a hike. And the teacher said, yeah, we're going to hike for the day, and then we're going to set up our tents. And I said, oh, you're staying overnight. So it's how we refer to, being away from home for a single night. We usually say, if it's more than one night, we usually just say that, oh, you're staying for more than one night. That's the phrase we use. Or you're staying for several nights. But yes, sometimes people go on an overnight trip. I think you could go like on an overnight train. I don't know a lot about trains, but that might be possible as well. Then, of course, there's the opposite of a greeting. It's how you say bye at night. You would say goodbye, but also good night. So in the evening, we say good night to our kids. If I was talking to my mom on the phone at night, I would say, okay, have a good night, Mom. Good night. I would say good night. You say it pretty quick, right? Good night. We even say good night when we leave work in the winter, because it starts to get dark here around 4:30, believe it or not. So sometimes if I work till 5 or 5:30 and I'm leaving, I might say to a colleague, hey, good night, I'm heading out. See you tomorrow. So good night is I don't know the word for the opposite of a greeting. Farewell? It's how you say, yeah, I'm not sure. Anyways, at night, when you are waving goodbye or leaving or saying goodbye to someone, good night is definitely a valid alternative as well. Late night. So this phrase can be used in a couple of ways. If I know I'm going to be going to bed late, I can say it's going to be a late night. Maybe I have a lot of work to do. I can say, oh, it's going to be a late night. I have to do 6 hours of work before I can go to bed. It's going to be a late night. You can also use late night to describe something. It was a late night party. It was a late night concert. It was a late night visit from a friend. So late night simply refers to something happening probably around midnight or 10 or 11 p.m., but at the time of night when you would consider it quite late. Usually something happening at the time when you normally would be going to bed. And of course, midnight is the opposite of noon. So midnight is exactly at 12 o'clock. When the clock strikes midnight, it is, I guess, the middle of the night. Although if you go to bed at 10, it isn't really. But midnight is 12 o'clock, 12 a.m. Did I get that right? 12 a.m. I get confused sometimes. I like 24-hour time better. And at night, when you drive a car, you have what are called headlights. Headlights are the lights on the front of a car. When cars were first made, I'm not sure if they had headlights, but this is what allows us to drive at night. When no one is approaching me, I have my high beams on. High beams are the lights that are very bright on your car. There's usually a spot somewhere where you can change between your high beams and your low beams. By the way, thanks to engineeringchoice.com, this is where I got the picture from. But high beams are the very bright lights, so you can set your headlights to be either on the high beam setting or low beam setting. So high beams are the brighter setting and low beams are the less bright. Where I live, we often drive with our high beams on because I live out in the country. And then when I'm in the city, I often drive with my low beams on. Sometimes you have a wonderful night. It's a beautiful night. Maybe you go for a bike ride with a friend or someone who you are romantically interested in, and you end up sitting on a park bench and talking, and it's a beautiful, wonderful experience. You might describe it by saying it was a night to remember. Maybe you go and see a really cool play. You would say, oh, it was a night to remember. Maybe you are married and remembering your wedding, and you just say, oh, it was so fun. All the people came and celebrated with us. It was a night to remember. So used to describe an evening that was memorable, fun, enjoyable. So let's talk a little bit about, let me make this as big as possible, the phrases last night and the night before and tomorrow night and Monday night. Well, any day. So here we go. Today, this lesson is being made on Friday, October 28th. So when I say last night, I'm referring to Thursday night. So today is Friday. So you have to imagine, if you're watching this later, imagine it's Friday. If I say, oh, I went to bed late last night, I'm talking about Thursday night. If, however, I'm talking about Wednesday night, so you have to continue to imagine it's Friday, I would say the night before. If someone said, did you go to bed late last night? I would say, no, but I went to bed late the night before. So last night, if it's Friday today, last night is yesterday, Thursday night, and the night before would be Wednesday night. Hopefully that made sense. Saturday is tomorrow. So it's Friday right now. If I want to talk about Saturday night, you could just say Saturday night, but I would probably say tomorrow night. Tomorrow night, I'm going to go have supper at my mom's house. What are you doing tomorrow night? Oh, tomorrow night, I'm going to go see a movie. So let's review. Last night, I went to bed late. The night before, I went to bed on time. Tomorrow night, I'm going to see a movie. I did put today on all of them. And then anytime you refer to a night that's coming up or even in the past, you can use the actual day. So what are you going to be doing Monday night? Oh, Monday night, I'm going out with a friend. What did you do last Monday night? Last Monday night, I stayed home and made a nice meal. So hopefully that helps a little bit. Hopefully that helps you remember how to talk about different nights in the week. I think it will. hopefully. This is a knight. This has nothing to do with the lesson, but it's the last slide. A knight is someone from history, someone from a long time ago, who was, I guess in modern days we would call them a soldier, but this is a knight. A knight would wear armor, a knight would have a sword, usually a knight would have a shield, and a knight would defend the king or queen in whatever country they were in. Why did I include this slide? Because knight with a K and knight without a K are pronounced the same way. Knight. This is a knight.